I was talking to some girl at the time, but you know, when you're in jail, like you can't expect somebody to just wait for you. You know, it's not fair.
No, absolutely
It's
not.
not fair, and I understand. So this is what I did. I, I asked her like, yo, I don't know how this gonna go with trial. I want to marry you.
What's good? My name is Chris Styles, Trappin Anonymous. Welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you to everybody that's been supporting the movement, keeping us moving. Do hit me up if you need that merch. We do have that merch on sale. We thank you for everybody that's been supporting us. And like I said, without y'all, there's no Trappin Anonymous. I'm just trying to give you these episodes and this content. Make sure you follow Breakbeat Media on that Instagram. Make sure you follow at Chris Styles, at Trappin Anonymous. If you have ideas for the show, if you want to be on the show, you know, just hit me up. We could probably make it happen. That's how a lot of people get in touch with me, and that's how a lot of the magic happens. Do remember that the stories that you hear do not necessarily reflect real life. They're here to entertain, educate, or just keep your little homie off the streets. It's only entertainment. Please don't get me indicted. My name is Chris Styles. Let's get it. What's up, man?
What's up?
How you feeling?
Good. How you doing?
How do you get arrested for a crime you didn't even know existed?
It's just I just feel like it was just like a mistaken identity.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got the call basically from my mom's, this who told me. She's like, the detectives just left my house. This when she was living in Far Rockaway. She like, the detectives just left my house. I said, for what? She said they just wanted to talk to you. I'm like, no detective just wanted to talk to you.
No.
So I'm like, all right, what's his number? He had left his card. So being that I know I ain't do nothing, I reached out to him. I'm like, what's going on? He said, I can't really tell you over the phone because you're already indicted. I said, I'm indicted for what? He said, I can't tell you over the phone. Let's go sit down and have a cup of coffee and something to eat. And we could talk about it like that. So I'm like, all right. He said, where are you? I said, I'm in North Carolina. He said, why are you there? I said, I live here. I've been living here since June. He's calling me around August 18th. This happened August 15th. The guy got beat up, robbed, jumped, took his phone, stripped him. Like, you know, regular hood stuff that go on or whatever. So I already had a target on my back from living in Far Rockaway and dealing with that precinct. So I'm like, all right, I'm in North Carolina. I can't really come to New York right now. I just started working. I can't afford to just get up and come to New York. He said, so when you gonna come to New York? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I just moved down here. He said, all right, well, I'm gonna keep in touch. I'm gonna reach out to the DA, but I'm gonna keep in touch with you to let her know where you at. I said, all right, cool. A couple of days passed. My girlfriend come in at the time, coming from work. She like, somebody called me from the DA office in New York. I said, what you say? She said, I just asked them why they was calling me. So I'm like, all right, what she say? So I'm like, all right. She said, the DA asked her, do I give her permission to use my food stamp card? So I'm like, yeah, I'll give you permission. I said, but what did you say? She said, I told him, yeah, and he lived with me. So I'm like, all right, cool. The DA reached out to the detective again and told him to file a worldwide manhunt for me. This is how they came to the UPS job. This is how they came to my girlfriend's house at the time in North Carolina. So around that time, I'm just like so much going through my mind. I don't know what they looking for me for. I don't know like really what's going on because they say they can't really talk to me so much because I'm indicted already. So I'm trying to find a lawyer, everything. It's just going all over the place. My mind going all over the place. So I finally found like a lawyer or whatever, but he wanted so much just to take the case. He didn't even know. Yeah, $3,500 down.
Yeah.
I didn't have it.
You didn't even have the money to come back to New York, let alone.
Nah, I was just started working. I was down there with my baby mother and my son.
Right.
So as time go on, I'm reaching out. As you can see, I got like Diddy files. Basically, the officer types up every time he reached out to me. So the officer's telling the DA, yo, I just ran a search through his food stamp card. He was in North Carolina when the crime was committed. He couldn't have been in New York. That's 8 hours away.
Wait, okay, hold on.
Yeah.
So they found you through the EBT card.
Because I used it in North Carolina.
They came out there, placed you under arrest.
Placed me under arrest.
And at this time, you've been trying to ask them what's going on.
Yeah.
They're not telling you.
Actually, the North Carolina Durham police county, they ran on my baby mother's house. I was in the house by myself, but I always keep the TV low so I can hear what's going on outside and everything. But I hear a lot of like leaves getting crushed from the footprints. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking, I look out the window, it's a cop right by the window. That's when he yelled, he's like, suspect active, he's in the house. So they start knocking on the door. So I go to the door. They pull me outside the house, handcuff me. So I'm telling them, like, let me get dressed. I only had on my drawers. I ain't have a shirt on or nothing. I only had my drawers on. I just came in from work.
But you sort of knew what time it was because you know that they've been trying to reach out to you.
Yeah.
So you kind of knew what was going on, but you just don't know when.
I didn't know when they was coming. But he gave me multiple times to come up to New York and turn myself in, but I'm like, I ain't going there. No, I ain't do nothing.
You ain't trying to talk to me.
I'm not doing nothing. They came to my mother's house in Far Rockaway. I had an aunt that lived in Flushing. They came there looking for me. She called me 2, 3 in the morning one time. They was in her kitchen already and called me and had me on the phone with them. And I'm telling them, like, yo, y'all keep going to all my family house in New York. I'm in North Carolina. I'm telling y'all where I'm at. That's when they reached out to the North Carolina Durham County office. They came to my baby mother's house in North Carolina.
Okay. So you come out, you say, yo, let me put clothes on. What happens next?
They sit me in a chair in the living room, put my clothes on. I'm like, yo, like, what is this about? They said they don't know. They just got a fugitive manhunt for me, and this is the address that came up. They found me through my UPS W-2.
And all of this was because of a robbery?
Robbery, gang assault was the top charge.
Gang assault.
I had 8 felonies. 8 felony indictment.
Okay, so you were a big deal. You were sort of like a high profile guy that they really wanted to come and get.
Right.
Okay, so now they have to transfer you back to New York.
Right. I'm in Durham County for 7 days. New York had 14 days to come get me, but I signed the waiver. I got the paperwork. I signed the waiver so they could come get me. They came and got me on the 10th or 11th day. My bail was $1 million. They had me at $1 million hold in North Carolina. So now, once New York come get me, they basically drive me to the airport in North Carolina. I'm walking through the airport, shackles, you hear the chains, I got the belt on. So it's drawing a lot of attention. So I'm like, damn, this is embarrassing. Because now I'm getting on a regular flight with regular people. But I'm the first one to get off and the last one, first one to get on, the last one to get off. I'm all the way in the back, all the way to the bathroom, my back against the last seat in the back. People looking, got their phones out. It was just embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, so they're recording you.
People was recording me. And then the waiting area, when you're waiting for the flight, like that flight to take off, you sitting in that little area. I was sitting there, regular people, kids looking nervous. It was embarrassing.
Are you in like an orange jumpsuit? Or
no, it was regular clothes.
But you got these chains.
Chains on, a lot of chains. It was heavy.
A lot of noise.
Yeah.
Okay. So you get into something with the cops. Like, yo.
I asked them, like, yo, y'all can't tell me what I'm going to, like, what do New York, like, what are they charging me with? Oh, I can't talk to you. You're indicted already. So I was indicted, I think around probably 3 months before they even came and got me. I was indicted. I was indicted for a while. So I'm like,
that plane ride, though, I'm sure that the flight is probably like an hour and a half.
45 minutes, but it took forever. And
what's going through your
that was my first flight. I never got on a plane before that. So my first flight, I'm in handcuffs. In handcuffs. They asked me that I want something to eat and stuff like that.
How old are you?
I'm 33 now.
How old were you when this happened?
This happened in 2017, so 27.
Okay. You touched down in New York, you finally have this conversation about what you did.
Right. So when I get to the judge, it's like 5 in the afternoon. I'm the only one in the courtroom. They just needed a judge to like clear the warrant. Once you get locked up, you got to get the warrant cleared, and you go to Rikers Island and stuff like that. So that's what that was for. I couldn't talk to nobody. I didn't have a lawyer. I didn't know nothing. They just gave me a lawyer that was on standby, just to represent me for that time to clear the warrant. Mm-hmm. So I go to Rikers Island. I come back. Like a week later, that's when they set my bail. I didn't have a bail at first. They set my bail at $100,000.
Like you said, at first it was $1 million.
That's in North Carolina. I'm in New York now.
Now you're in New York.
Now I'm in New York with a $100,000 bail.
10% you got to pay?
10%.
So $10,000 you got to come.
10,000, then it's like a $3,000 fee from the bail bond, so like 10,500. 10,000, 10.
Do you get out?
I get out, but 2-3 years later.
2-3 years later?
It was hard to get out. I needed like 5-6 signatures. I needed a lot. Like they wanted pay stubs. They wanted a lot of stuff.
You couldn't just come with the money?
Nah, it was too high profile.
Okay.
It was too high profile. So what happened was
2-3 years. I'm sorry, I'm
yeah.
But okay, so you sat on Rikers Island for 2 or 3 years.
2-3 years.
Okay, let's go back now. Okay, so what happens next? You get this bail.
I get the bail. So my mom's asking me. She like, listen, we not rich. You want a lawyer, or you want to come home? I can't do both. So I told her, like, listen, I don't know how long it's gonna take y'all to get me out, but I'm gonna go to the law library every day. I'm gonna do my part. Y'all worry about bailing me out. I'd rather fight the case from the outside, because as the judge, it looks like you have family support when you get bailed out. It looks better.
That's right.
Right? So that's what I was worried about, the image.
That's right.
The whole time I'm in there, no offers was made, no deals was made. They just wanted to go to trial.
They wanted to take you to trial. But it's like...
They didn't offer me no programs or none of that, because I already have a criminal past, so I'm not eligible for probation or time served and none of that no more.
What was the extent of your criminal past?
Just a weapons possession in 2012, I think it was. Okay. Yeah, 2012.
Okay.
So from there, I already knew. I could see it in the indictment. The DA just wanted jail time. She made that clear. It's in typing. It's in white and black. So now, while I'm in jail, I was talking to some girl at the time, but you know, when you're in jail, like you can't expect somebody to just wait for you. You know, it's not fair.
No, absolutely.
It's not fair, and I understand. So that was me and my...
So is that like a conscious decision that you make too, like as a man? It's like, I know that I'm dating a girl, but
yeah,
realistically...
I know how it is. That wasn't my first time in jail, but that was my first time in jail for something I didn't do. So I already knew, like, all right, I can't think about the outside.
What was the first day in there like?
First day, you just don't know who you're around. You gotta pay attention. It's gangs in it. That's the #1 issue in Rikers Island, gangs. So when you come in, it's different from a Spanish guy coming in or a white guy coming in than a black guy coming in, right? They ready to attack you. You gotta fight for the phone. Have to. Whether you
had to get into a altercation.
Yeah, I got scars on my hand, I got cuts on my arm. It's real.
From being held in Rikers Island.
Right. Got cut on my arm, but it's how you like handle yourself, how you carry yourself. I'm not gang related. So I gotta tell you too, another thing about how the precinct forced me to be gang related, but I'm not gang related. So by me coming in there as a neutral person, it's harder. I don't have a team behind me, you know? So you come in the house and they telling you this is a Blood house or a Crip house or a MS-13 house, whatever, Latin King house, whatever they is, it's an issue, because now you gotta prove yourself. So what I mean by prove yourself, like, you wanna use the phone every day. You can use the phone, but at a certain time, all the gang members use the phone to close the night out. So most of the slot times start around 7 o'clock. Everybody get 30 minutes. All the gang members get 30 minutes. You might come in there and you be like, nah, I'm not living like that. I gotta talk to my family whenever I could talk to my family. If nobody on the phone, you telling me as a grown man, I gotta go to another grown man and ask him, can I use that phone? And that's not his phone, that's Rikers Island phone. So you coming in from the outside, you're not used to living like that. But they've been living like this for like a year or two or more than that, however long they've been in there. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm not living by that code.
So what happens?
You get in a fight. Whether you lose, whether you win, they respect you. You fought.
You have to fight.
Have to fight.
To get that respect.
Have to. It's people going around just kicking the bucket down the aisle.
What's that mean?
When commissary come, they'll kick a bucket down the aisle. If you don't put nothing in that bucket, the Bloods or the Crips, they're gonna beat you up. The Bloods and Crips got certain rules. Like if you're not gang related, you gotta throw food in that bucket to feed them, basically.
When the bucket comes past your cell, what do you do?
I wasn't in the cell yet. I was in a dorm. There's 60 different inmates in one dorm, right? So I'm looking at them doing that. So I'm watching his eye contact, his face expression when he go past my bed. He kicked the bucket and I ain't put nothing in it. So off the rip, I already know, all right, I gotta put my sneakers on. I know it'll come with that, because I already know. I was in jail at 16, and I got locked up again at 19. So I know how this goes. It was worse when I was a kid because of adolescence. So now as a grown man, it's still the same kid mentality, but it's just grown-ups doing it. You know?
Yeah.
So now, all right, I'm watching his eye movement and everything. I'm like, all right, they about to jump me. But they didn't. I was in there the longest. I was the only one in that house with a 2016 date on my ID. Everybody else at the time, it was 19, I think. It was 2018 when that happened. I'm the only one that said 2016. So they like, yo, nah, leave him. He been in here the longest. I didn't respect that.
You didn't respect it?
No, I didn't respect it because I know something else gonna come with that.
Wow. Did it?
Yeah. This is what happened. It's called like slip or slip. They easily slip to the CO. Now the CO, I'm like, damn, why I keep getting moved around? They keep moving me around because somebody told the inmate, the CO, I was blood. So now I'm under a certain security risk group. It's called SRG. That's the paperwork I send you. It shows that I'm blood affiliated. But what they did to me was they put me under a blood set that's no longer active. So now I'm a target. You see? Now I'm a target. Y'all made me a target because I'm not following y'all rules. Instead of putting hands on me, y'all just made me a target all over Rikers Island. Because once you SRG, your picture go up in the intake. It's called intake, where all the inmates come in from off the bus, and it's different cells. You got boroughs, Queens cell, Brooklyn cell, stuff like that. So I'm in the Queens cell because the first 3 numbers of your ID is 441. That's Queens. So they looked at it and like, oh, he from Queens. Damn, he SRG. Let's see what he is. But now that I don't know anything, they're like, yeah, something ain't right. That's where all my fights came from.
How many fights would you say you got into?
Like 16, 17 fights.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
That's a lot. Were you ever fearful going into a fight, or did this become just a norm?
Like my first and second fight, I was nervous because I'm like, I feel like they don't give you a fair fight in jail. The COs don't break it up. They just beat both of y'all up. That's how it go. Whether you started it or not, they not going to take a side. They beating both of y'all up. Then they ask questions later. But you can't talk to the CO. You can't give a statement because now you're a rat. I done seen COs really break people's jaw, man. They don't mean to, but they got to break the fight up.
What would you say the most traumatizing thing you had to deal with while you were in the cell for those 2 years?
When somebody threw a razor under my bed. They threw a razor under my bed, but at the time I was in a barbershop. And while I'm in the barbershop, the SWAT, they call it turtles. The turtles came and searched the house. They do monthly searches or whatever. So I guess the guy that I was laying next to is a Muslim dude. His name Ali. He was cool, but he stayed to himself. Excuse me. He throws his razor under my bed. I know I don't have a razor. So it's either him or Fat Boy I was sitting next to. But I was so cool with him, but still jail. You're on your own. So one of them did it. So he told me, Fat Boy told me, like, yo, the Muslim nigga threw that shit under your bed. So when I came in, they like, who in bed 14? They like, raise your hand. So I raised my hand. They handcuffed me. Now I got rearrested. That's a new charge. So now, instead of having a regular yellow ID, it's a red ID. Now that made me a bigger target because now, as a CO, you looking at me like, damn, he liable to cut me. Because red ID mean you're a cutter, you're a shooter, you're a slasher. So every time I'm going to court now, I'm by myself, I'm separated, I'm handcuffed at the ankles, handcuffed up here. I wasn't like that before.
And this made life extremely difficult.
Yeah, it made life extremely difficult. Now I'm looking like I'm doing, now it's looking like I really did the crime because now I'm getting in trouble in jail. The judge knows that. They don't tell you they know, but the judge see it in your file.
A lot of things seem like they happen to you, right?
Yeah.
What do you think you're sort of responsible for?
What I'm responsible for? The friends I make. I shouldn't have made certain friends. I shouldn't have been friends with certain people. But I didn't know. Like, I'm really from like South Jamaica, Queens. When I moved to Far Rockaway, that was my decision, being friends with certain people. You know, I made myself a target for the police in Far Rockaway. But it's still not right to accuse somebody of a crime that they didn't commit.
100%. Okay, so your reputation on the island is pretty solid, I would think, because they know. I guess you get busy with the hands at least, so they know. You know, you got the cutter slash, and now I know that might put a target on your back, but that also makes other people sort of feel like this guy is not to be messed with. Or did the opposite happen? Did they feel like this is a guy to be messed with?
Once I had the red ID, I got my respect went up a lot, but I didn't care about that.
Right.
I was trying to go home.
That's right.
You know, I didn't care about that, and you forced to wear your ID because the CO's got to know who you are when you're walking through the hallways.
Right.
You need your ID to go to the law library. You need your ID to go to the nurse. You need your ID to go to visits.
Okay. All right. So when you go to jail, I know you kind of got away from it a little bit, but you was telling me something with your girlfriend. Y'all was in contact. She was supposed to be like helping you out while you were in there.
Yeah.
What was going on?
We broke up. Me and my baby mother broke up probably like 3 or 4 days before they came to her house to lock me up. We was going through our own little situation. So she decided to like cut things off. So when I'm in jail, she's single basically. I can't really fault her for what she's doing out there, and I'm not thinking about what she's doing out there.
So when you mentioned that you had a girlfriend that would come see you or whatever, you're not talking about your baby mother.
Nah, I talked to somebody else. Yeah.
But you said you sort of respected it because obviously you're in jail and she's out and about.
Yeah.
But it still hurts.
It hurt because this is what happened, right? I asked her to come see me. This is when I'm in the Bronx on a boat. It's easier to go see somebody when they're on a boat. So
they're locked up on a boat?
Right, it's a boat all the way in the back.
Okay.
On Hunter's Point, however you say it, over there, all the way in the back. And I asked her to come see me. She said she'd come. She never came, right? Cool. I had stopped my moms and my stepfather from coming up there because she was coming to see me. My mom came every week to come see me, every week.
Of course.
For 2 years, almost 3 years, I was locked up. So when I stopped her from coming, she like, that ain't like him. Like he always let me come see him and stuff like that. So I told her, I'm like, yo, Kiana's supposed to come see me. She never came. So she'd send me like pictures of her, write me a letter, send it, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So this is what I did. I asked her like, yo, I don't know how this gonna go with trial. I want to marry you, right? I said, I'm gonna send a form home. Fill it out. You gotta go take it to 161 in the Bronx. She said she's gonna do it, gave me the runaround, said she's gonna do it, never did it. Something happened the Daily News came to interview me. That's how I got out. Basically, like they lowered my bail to $50,000. That's what my aunt and my mom's got a loan from their bank and they bailed me out. My aunt's signature, my sister's signature, my mother's signature, my stepfather's signature. That's how I got out.
How did the news come to see you? How did they find out about your case?
They, what I did was I used to read the newspaper every day. So I read certain articles and I look who the writer was or the whatever, right? So I hit this guy up. I had wrote a lot of people down. And I used to just tell my mother to search their name on Google. If you could find an email or something, just email on my case. The president, he responded to my mom, but it was like you could tell it's somebody from his team on Obama at the time. You could tell it's somebody from his team, wasn't directly.
Direct
Yeah.
contact.
So now, Janet Fisher was his name. She reached out to him. He reached out to her and told her to give me his number. Excuse me. So when she gave me his number, I reached out to him. I called him straight from Rikers Island, told him the story and everything. He said, listen, I'm going to get in contact with the jail. You got to sign a waiver so I could come speak to you. Other than that, I'm not going to be able to get through with my cameras and everything. So I signed it. He told me the date that they approved for him to come talk to me. That made me a target. Talking to the news reporters. Rikers Island don't want no cameras or news reporters on Rikers Island. They don't like that.
They already have a lot of bad press.
Have a lot of bad press. They don't want no press up there. So I'm talking, he come up there, we do our interview and everything, but he didn't have cameras. He had cameras, but they was just taking pictures of me. I had brought my paperwork down. He's going through it. He like, damn, like it's showing that you wasn't there. Why you still here? I'm like, it's the DA holding me. The DA didn't want me out. She knew I didn't do that crime. She didn't want me out.
Okay, before I go there,
All right.
the reason why I brought up so much of the trauma and the things that you experienced for the 2 years that you were on the island
All right.
was because this is the story of so many. I remember the Khalif Browder incident.
I was locked up with him.
But you were in jail with him.
Yeah, we was in the 3 building together.
And you remember having contact with him. And
Yeah. He was in cell. At that time, I was locked up for the gun charge. At that time, I was in cell 16. He was in 9.
did you notice anything about his demeanor or?
Nah, it wasn't. You know what it was with him? He stuck to himself.
Right.
You know? But he always a fight back. Now what they did with him was they never changed his house. When you fight, they usually change your house to get away from the people you fought. They never changed his house.
And for people that don't know, Khalif Browder was the young man who was wrongfully convicted, could not afford bail, spent a significant amount of time on Rikers Island, like you did,
Yeah.
and finally got out, but ended up committing suicide because of all of the trauma behind going to prison. This is a story of so many young black men. This is a story of so many men, period. And not to get too much off topic,
Yeah.
this happened to me at 18 years old,
Right.
where I was arrested out of a lineup on the street. Somebody on the street, they rolled the window down, they shine light in our face. Somebody picked us out. Me and 4 of my friends were arrested for a robbery
Right.
that I didn't even know existed. Stood in jail for about 2-3 days. They realized, look, I was going to college like the next week. I never had any priors, never had a record, so they R&R'd me. They released me on my own recognizance.
Right.
But some of my other friends that had like a prior or something like that, they had to pay some kind of bail. If we didn't make bail, I would have been on Rikers Island.
Right.
You know? And how they got me was somebody came to my mother's house and they said, we just want to talk to your son.
Same
And
thing.
when I went outside, they arrested me.
Right.
And that's how that happened. And I went to school, came back down from school, they arrested me again. So that's why this story means so much to me to do too, because I know what it's like to sit in that courtroom or in that cell and just not even know what exactly is going on. Long story short, when they said the crime was committed, I was actually in class. I went to school upstate New York. So I just had a professor write that, I was in class and I was able to go free, but I shouldn't have to go through that.
Right.
Because there's trauma when them handcuffs go around your wrist.
Yeah.
there's trauma when you're putting a police car on your block, where everybody knows you that you grew up with. There's trauma when you got to sit in that cell, you know, and you carry all of that. So stories like you, I mean, this is one story, but this is a story so many of us, inner city youth, especially, you know, that they gotta fill a quota, they gotta meet some kind of, you know, thing, and it's really fucked up. But one thing I will say is, I'm happy I got arrested that day, because I was going to do some like scams with my friends. Like I was gonna do like some credit card scams and stuff like that with my friends, and I got arrested that same day. And I said, nah, I can't do this, and I left that shit alone. That was gonna be my first day scamming, and I got arrested for robbery, right?
Could have been worse.
So that's why I take things as signs. I take things as warnings, and you know, do you think in your instance that maybe this was like karma for something else, or karma for something that you was gonna be doing, or you know, something in that realm that you try to use to balance it out, to make sense in your head? Because we human, we gotta make sense of these.
I don't think like that.
Okay.
You know, this where I think that came from. It was the detective in Far Rockaway. His name was two of them. And people see this, that's from Far Rockaway, they gonna know who I'm talking about. His name was Detective Cruzado and Detective Myers, right? Myers told me to my face, he said, I can't wait till where I catch you shooting at somebody one day or something. He said, I'm gonna knock you right in your head. He said, I'm not gonna shoot you in the leg. He said, I'm not gonna shoot you in your arm. He said, I'm gonna shoot you in your head. He told me that to my face. This when they raided my house in 2012 for the gun charge. He told me that to my face.
Were you in the streets heavy?
I was. He knew that. But once I had my son in 2013, I never even went back out there like that. I always was moving with my son moms. I stayed with them, you know? I was always like, I started working at McDonald's after that, once he was born. I never had time to go back to Far Rockaway. They never really caught me for anything, you know?
Yeah. Okay. So, how often would you say you was in that law library trying to?
Every day.
Every day?
Every day. I learned how to type up my own motions. I learned how to file my own motions. I wrote letters to the judge, showing them that I'm really like breaking my case down, and I'm showing them like, look, this is evidence here, showing that I wasn't like around that area at the time. But the DA is like, what she say goes. The judge is gonna go with the DA until you have like 100% facts, right? And I had the statement of the cops showing, the cops showing that he basically investigated himself, and my EBT card is showing me swiping. Obviously, he had the video of me using the card at the Walmart in North Carolina. So he's telling the DA, like, listen, this guy wasn't there. He said it on the stand when I went to pretrial. He wasn't there. I have a DD5 from an officer saying that I wasn't there. She still kept pushing for it.
What is it like getting put into a room or in passing with your co-defendants and they're people that you've never seen a day in your life?
This is what happened. This is how I found out who my co-defendant was. So one day I'm going to court and I hear him talking about a case and he like, yo, I ain't do this. I don't even know the people on my indictment. And he started naming his co-defendants. I'm like, yo, you Jay Quan? He like, yeah. I'm like, yo, I'm Akeem. He like, yo, who are you? That's what he said. He like, yo, who are you? I'm like, nah, who are you? They just came and got me from North Carolina. Like, I wasn't even living out here no more. So he's showing me his paperwork. He's like, yo, I was there, but I didn't do nothing.
Wow.
He was already in jail for like a year and a couple months. I was in there for like a month or two. I had just got locked up.
So he saw what happened.
He saw what happened, but he wasn't involved in it. He was just there.
Wow. So how the hell did you get involved in
Right. And he's telling me like, yo, I never seen you before. I said, go tell that to them when we go in the courtroom. Tell them that. Because I got my own co-defendant telling me to my face, he never seen me before.
Wow.
And he already admitted he was on the scene, but he wasn't there. I mean, he wasn't involved. So
What was his fate? How did he end up? You don't even know.
he I think he took time served because he was there.
Oh, he took time served.
Right. I wanted mine dismissed.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. Yeah, I'm not doing that. I was trying to go for the lawsuit and all that, but being that they forced the guy to pick me out of a photo lineup, that was their probable cause of holding me. Wow. So I couldn't sue. That's the only thing. I couldn't sue.
Because they had the problem.
They forced him to lie. So, like it said in the paperwork, he was drinking at the time, the guy that got assaulted. And that he wear glasses, but he wasn't wearing them at the time. He was looking at the photo lineup. Mm-hmm. So that kind of weakened his trust.
Right.
So it was just, it's crazy because when you go to court, you're not gonna always see the judge. You're sitting there for 8 hours or more in a cell, and then when the bus comes, you just go back to Rikers Island. They just adjourn your court date. They don't tell you why, but it happens every day.
Did you ever reach a breaking point while you was in there?
I cried one time.
Yeah.
And I only cried because they moved me around doing, basically from the news reporter coming to see me, everybody started treating me different. The COs, the inmates. But I wasn't fighting no more. I've been in there, around that time I was probably in there for a year or a couple months. Mm-hmm. So the COs used to seeing me now. They done got used to me, my name, everything cool. But once the press came, they started falling back. Now I'm getting moved around. I've been in every building on Rikers Island, but NIC. NIC is for older people with diseases and stuff like that. So I went to OBCC. I had a fight in there. They moved me out the building in there. The guy said I cut him. I didn't cut him. He ain't had no cuts on his face or nothing. His nose was busted. My eye was black a little bit. It was a regular fight. Mm-hmm. They moved me out of OBCC. Now they put me in a Beacon, GRVC. That's the high profile building. Everybody that's on the news, that's where they at. That building that building crazy. It's a bunch of like gay people in there, just everybody that's in one building. Mm-hmm. And it's no movement. Like, I don't know, if people been on Rikers Island, in the last 5-6 years, but Rikers Island, you have no movement no more. It's 23-1. The whole building, 23-1. You could come out for an hour, walk around and watch watch TV. Some where I was at, they had a little PlayStation in there. You could play the game for a few. But that only leads to fights, because everybody don't want it, play games. Right. It leads to fights, but...
And then you go right back to your cell.
Go right back to your cell. Now in that hour, you only got 3 or 4 things you can do. You can either go to the yard, low library. If you didn't shower, you can shower, or you can just sit downstairs. Because the cells is 2 tiers. You got the bottom and then the top.
I would be like, and you gotta just take a shit right in front of this man.
Yeah. I mean, no. Rikers Island is 1 person in the cell.
Oh, it's 1 person?
Yeah, it's 1 person in the cell.
So you was in your own cell?
In your own cell.
Got you. All right. What's some advice that you would give somebody that got locked up, that needs to come home, doesn't really know their rights, don't really have the money for the lawyer and stuff like that? Maybe some of the steps that you took even.
Well, my advice, I think you need to learn the law first. If you're gonna do crime and stuff and you going to jail, know the law, because it's a time limit on everything. They have a time limit to indict you. They have a time limit to grant you trial. People don't know that. They have a time limit to
And you said there's some people on Rikers Island right now.
Yeah.
That could go home right now.
They don't know that though,
because they don't know, because that time to indict is 5 days.
Yeah.
They have 5 days to indict you.
Right.
If they don't indict you within those 5 days, you can go home.
Yeah.
And people don't know that.
That's why it's called grand jury. So everybody that get locked up, now they gonna know, because I'm saying it, but when you get locked up, you go to Rikers Island, and then your court date probably be in 4 or 5 days after that. Everybody. Mm. You know why? Because the grand jury, you gotta go to grand jury. You get a chance to speak. It's like a trial, but you get a chance to speak. Now, if the grand jury feel like you lying or you don't have proof to come home, that's when you get indicted. You know? So now when you're on trial, when you're in Rikers Island and you've been there for 2 or 3 years, you're already indicted. You didn't convince this jury that you was innocent. The DA convinced them that you did it.
Gotcha.
Now, it's either you plead guilty or not guilty. Now, when you plead not guilty, you're going to sit on Rikers Island to trial. My friend just blew trial. He was locked up for 6 years before he even got a trial date. But that's how Rikers Island is. He knew he did it. Why go to trial? You know, some people...
Yeah, they just want to take chances and roll the dice. And
I couldn't play like that.
No. Okay, so how did getting the press, I know it was a big risk, but how did getting the press actually help you with your case?
Basically, like the news reporter said, he basically feel like, why would this guy go to the Daily News if he did it?
Exactly.
You know? He came to my court date.
Wow.
He didn't say nothing. He spoke to my lawyer. My lawyer didn't want to speak to him. I didn't have a paid lawyer. I had a lawyer from...
They don't be involved.
Right. So this is when the case started turning. Once the Daily News came to my court date, that's when the judge lowered my bail. After I've been asking for like a year and a half, he lowers my bail for $50,000. So now, once I bail out, now the DA offers me something. A year in jail. Why you gonna give me a year in jail? I just sat in there for 2 years, almost 3.
I've done more.
I've done more already. So you basically telling me to take time served for something I didn't do.
Right.
I was like, okay, I don't want that.
Nope.
She's like, my lawyer was like,
you want to be exonerated.
Right. I don't want that on my record because I didn't do it. If I did it, I would have took the time and went upstate, whatever I had to do my time.
Right.
So now, next court they come, my lawyer's telling me, she want to offer you a year probation. I said, how's she gonna offer me a year probation? In indictment it says mandatory jail time because of my record.
Now that they know, they like, all right, this guy ain't doing it.
Right. So now it's getting closer and closer to trial. She's trying to offer me something because she don't want to go to trial because she don't have no evidence. I didn't want it.
Nope.
I didn't want it. She offered me, what, time served. I didn't want it. She offered me a year in jail. I didn't want it. Then she offered me a year probation. I didn't want it. I said I want a dismissal. She said she can't just dismiss it like that because of my record. I said, that don't have nothing to do with my record. If y'all made a mistake, y'all got to deal with what come with after that.
Exactly.
I want a dismissal. That's why I showed you the picture of me standing on the court steps. That's my dismissal paper I got.
Wow.
And it's stamped.
Wow.
That's when I didn't go to court like that.
Yeah.
I went back up there
Take the picture.
to take the picture, but I had to also pay $15 to get that paper from the clerk's office just to prove that my case got dismissed.
What was that day like?
It was good. I felt like I ain't had nothing over my head no more. It had changed a lot. It changed a lot. Like in my life, it changed a lot. That made me mature a lot. I mature more over that. And I also, I cut a lot of people off over that situation. You know why? Because a lot of people ran from it because they feel like I was going to blow trial. I didn't even make it to trial. It's so many pre-trial hearings you could go through to weaken your case. When we went to the Wade hearing pre-trial setting, the cop didn't even point the right person out. They asked him, yo, where's Jaquan? He pointed to me. I'm not Jaquan. So they didn't know who was who. 2 people got their case dismissed before I even got to pre-trial. So that made the cake more weak because they already proved they wasn't there. So if they wasn't there, how y'all gonna say I was there? It's crazy.
Does a day go by where this doesn't haunt you?
Yeah, it haunts me every day. I don't show it.
Every day.
It haunts me every day because I feel like once you beat the system, you always a target in their eyes because they don't like losing. They don't like losing.
What did you lose by being in there for so long?
I lost, I think my grandma's passed away when I was in there on my father's side. Um, I missed out on my kid first graduation. I missed it, like, and it's not little stuff, but like his tooth coming out. I missed a lot of things that
Yeah.
I wish I was there for because that was my first kid.
Yeah, my son's tooth is coming in now.
Yeah,
It's like a celebration.
yeah,
You know, oh look, oh my God.
yeah.
You know, it's like,
But for me to miss his graduation, that's what made me like stay strong in jail. I was like, all right, it's gonna take time, but I'm gonna come home. And you lying to your kid, telling them you at school, you know, just so they don't know you in jail. I'm telling him I'm at school for almost 2-3 years. Why you at school all this time? What you doing?
you have any regrets?
Only regrets I got is, and it's not to bash nobody, but it's just, I wish I didn't make certain friends, because them certain friends brought a certain attention, and that's the police. You know? I didn't have to become friends with who I became friends with to make me a target for that precinct. Like, I'm cool with them still to this day, but I distance myself because I know what it come with.
If there was something to learn about your story, what would it be?
Just, like, the only thing you can learn from this is, what I'll say, and it's sad to say this, but as a black man, you gotta keep a tab on your whereabouts, just in case something like this happens. And I didn't do that. Gotta keep a tab on stuff like that. Because when I used to look back in my phone and I didn't have nothing showing where I was at, because I used to delete stuff and everything, I'm like, I gotta start keeping memories or something. Like, when I came home, I used to take pictures every day just to show it was traumatizing. I used to take pictures every day, making sure the date up there and everything, just to so it won't happen again. And I just stopped doing that probably, last September?
Do you feel like one day it'll happen again?
I think so. You know why? Because certain precincts is just, they not good precincts. When I came home, 2 guys got killed on Rockaway Parkway about 5 times, right? They came and questioned me for that. And I was working at MTA as a dispatcher, but I was working from home. If I didn't tell them, if I didn't have a picture, I got the picture on my phone right now. If I ain't had that picture, I would have been on trial for 2 homicides. Somebody told them they seen a black Honda leaving the scene, and I drive a black Honda. I'm like, who keep doing this? I'm like, somebody really don't like me unless it's a cop doing it. But I don't know who's doing it. I really don't know.
It's Trappin Anonymous. My name is Chris Davis.